we go.
All righty. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our NAMIC May web event. Today our discussion will be centered around the topic of work-life balance, something we can definitely all agree is a very interesting matter to navigate. And we have none other than our guest speaker with us today, Javier Seabaaugh, who will share his experience and insights on this matter. So a little bit about Javier. Javier Seabaaugh is the Senior Director of Customer Service at Charter Communications, leading strategic operations for technical support in the Bridgeton, Missouri location. Javier was born in Caracas, Venezuela, and moved to the United States in May of 2013. He began his career at Charter as a frontline representative in 2014. Through relentless dedication, he rapidly ascended through the ranks, transitioning from the phones to senior leadership in just over a decade. Congratulations. Javier, his professional drive is fueled by his outside life from the office. He is a devoted husband to Eamon and a proud father of Sebastian and Sophia. Whether he is 3D printing a new project, crafting, or taking the family camping in the great outdoors, Javier prioritizes quality time with his loved ones. He also ensures he fits in physical challenges for his health, currently training for his third consecutive Tough Mudder in August this year. His story is a powerful example of how grit, career growth, and a vibrant family life can thrive in tandem. So, without further ado, I leave you in the capable hands of Javier Seabaaugh.
All right. Thank you so much, Denise. I truly appreciate it. And thank you so much, everyone, for coming today. I was asked to talk about work-life balance, and let me just start the topic with, I'm no expert. I really wanted to come here and share kind of the things that have worked for me, and hopefully the second part of this meeting, we can make it a chat and discussion on the things that we can do better and the opportunities that we all have for that very important part of work-life balance. So if we can move to the next slide, thank you. So just to talk a little bit about myself, Denise did do a great introduction. I am original from Caracas, Venezuela, and just to give you a little bit more of color to my story, I actually came for a cruise for my birthday in 2013, and in that cruise I met who my husband is nowadays. It was a 5-day cruise. At the end of the cruise, he told me, "Don't leave, stay with me," and something just told me that it was the right decision. And here I am 13 years later, and 2 kids. So definitely, I'm glad that I follow my gut on this, and this was the right person for me. And why I'm here, of course, they are my motive, my reason, everything, why I do everything I do. That's Sebastian, who is 6, and Sebastian is our son through adoption. And Sophia is 16 months, and she's our daughter through surrogacy, which we did in Barranquilla, Colombia, back in 2024. All right, we can move to the next slide. So just to talk a little bit about me and the professional self that I am. I'm just an ordinary professional, but I have a lot of self-discipline, which I have leveraged for work-life balance, and of course for career success, right? I have seen quite a rapid growth in my career. I started in 2014 as a frontline rep, as Denise said earlier in the call. And by 2017, I was a manager in the same center where I started. Listen, there's a lot that we can attach to that. We had just completed the merger with Time Warner Cable and Bright House, which of course really opened many doors for opportunities, for career growth for many of us. On the other side, I do have to give the props to the hard work and dedication that I put in on a daily basis for my leaders to see that I could continue to do more. And one thing is that I've never been ashamed or shy of taking on responsibilities that are probably not within my job description. And I can tell you that has never impacted my work-life balance. My work-life balance has been impacted, of course, and I have learned from them, but not because I take on more responsibilities or because I want to go an extra mile and learn something new. That's kind of the philosophy that I have, that opportunities that are probably a step above us will just prepare us for that next uh, step in our career. And I've taken those opportunities as a blessing. I've taken those opportunities as a chance for me to continue further my career. So honestly, with a fast career growth, there was a lot of changes in my life. And as I said, yes, my work-life balance did get impacted every time I started a new role. And right now, I started the senior director role in February of this year. And I can tell you that there's still a lot of things that I'm figuring it out. But one thing is that I always remain focused and humble on the things that I need to learn and be focused on. This is not my area of expertise, and I need to seek somebody that is an expert on this that can help me make a decision or help me devise a strategy. But also on the other end, really making sure that I take the right steps, right, and that I don't try to chew more than I can swallow. In that to that extent, I understand that stepping out of your comfort zone and taking on those duties may require additional time. So how do I empower my team? How do I empower my coworkers to help me with those things that probably going down on priority because a new task is being assigned, right? So I had to figure it out all because I am a very high energy person. I like to bring a lot of energy to the workplace. But in order for me to fulfill that, I have to make sure that I have all of my side of the business properly managed. And I'm going to share with you guys some of those daily habits and some of those that I struggle with too. And I'll be very transparent on that. We can move to the next slide. So, just to reiterate, I am not a work-life balance expert in no way. I'm just someone who learned the hard way, what happens when you don't have boundaries. Moving on to the next slide, the daily grind. And it's work-life balance. It has to come about protecting your peace one day at a time. Focus on the present. We can move on. So, I'm going to talk about the most common one, and it's the sacred lunch break. It is the single-handed most impactful habit that I have developed. And I know this gets taught on every single work-life balance kind of presentation, discussion, breakout group. We always talk about lunch. And there's nothing wrong with one day you having a hectic day and having to skip your lunch or probably having to eat it in your office while you're getting something done or in your desk. That can happen, but it should be the exception, not the rule. You need that time away from your desk so you can reconnect with yourself and come back focused on the job. I hold myself accountable, and my team is aware that I take my lunch every day at 11 a.m. sharp. That's the kind of person that I am. I wake up every morning at 4 a.m. I go to the gym. I get into the office around 6 a.m., which normally I shouldn't start until around 7, 8. Some of my peers start around that time. I get in here at 6 a.m., right? And majority of my team arrives around between 8 and 10 a.m. So those 2 hours between 6 and 8 a.m. help me focus on what are the top priorities for the day that I need to get out of the way, that I need to make sure that I accomplish, that I make sure that have the results that I need them to have, right? Those are my 2 hours to make sure that I'm not being reached out. Nobody's coming to my office. Normally, I'm very alone during those 2 hours, focused on my day-to-day. Of course, because I wake up so early, by 11 a.m., I am starving. And let me tell you, I'm a high-energy, happy person until it comes time for lunch. I am those kind of people that will get hungry. So I can't think, I can't focus, and I start to think on what am I going to eat for lunch? What is it going to be? How much time I'm going to have, right? For example, today is a great example. Today is one of those days where I'm bumping my lunch to a later time, but I'm gonna make sure that I get at least 10, 15 minutes away for me to disconnect, reconnect, and come back refocused and come back with a full energy so I can continue to interact with our teams, right? For me, part of my daily job and the part that I enjoy the most, and it's probably the most important part of my job, is interacting with all of my team members, from the front line all the way to the leaders that report to me. And I take that part of my job very seriously because I can get so much information from interacting from our front line. Do we have any tool issues? Do we have any trend on customer calls? Things that I can take actions on that can help improve their day-to-day experience, right? But I also have to understand that the level of requirement that has from me, right? So if I give myself some time, a time to just recuperate, to disconnect, to not have to have, the smile on and the energy up and, addressing situations or handling HR matters, like those kind of things will take your energy away, will drain it a little bit. And disconnecting it for 15 minutes is like a fast charger on your phone. If you've ever had that rush where you need just 50% of battery and you connect your phone to the fast charger, it's the exact same concept. And I encourage you guys, if you're skipping your lunch on a regular basis, make sure that that's your exception, not the rule, because it will help you be able to perform even better at work. You can move to the next slide. And this one, it really talks about daily boundaries, right? And I'm going to talk about the commuter. If you see me on the highway, for those of you that live in St. Louis, if you drive Highway 70 around 6 a.m., you may see this guy on a suit jamming to the loudest music you can imagine. I am that kind of person. It brings my energy up. I already worked out, so of course I'm all awake and I'm bringing all my energy up. If you work from home, make sure that you still consider some time of that commuter buffer that we have. Maybe it is to drink your coffee, your tea, walk around the block, listen to a quick podcast, something that will help you transition from your personal life to your work life at home. I can tell you that it is critical that you do that because you have to have some kind of separation. When I work from home, from 2019 to 2021, when I was working for another company, I worked from home. And I can tell you that was probably the part that I struggled with the most, was separating my space of work, because I'm a crafter, as Denise said at the beginning. I 3D print, I laser engrave, I do vinyl work. It's part of my hobby and kind of where I do some cathartic practices to relax and be free from the stress of work, right? So when I was working from home, I started initially working from my craft room. It was a perfect setup. I had multiple monitors. And what I found myself was that I was not crafting as much because that also was my place of work. So just because I wanted to create that separation. So what I did, I actually moved my office outside of my craft room, and that allowed me to reconnect with myself, with my crafting, with my hobbies, the things that I enjoy on a daily basis that truly bring me that peace, right? So if you work from home, think about where your setup is. Is that the area where you can break apart your work life from your personal life? If not, maybe you want to rethink it. And also add that commuter buffer. Walk around the block, ride the bike, whatever it is that you can set up before and after, going from your work life, from your personal life to your work life, and then moving from that work life to your personal life. It's going to help you a lot and transition your mind and make it easier for you. The second one is notifications purge. About a year and a half ago, I took a very abrupt decision. I turned off every single notification on 95% of the apps on my phone. There are very few that have notification. Of course, my work email is one of them. My direct messaging, of course, is one of them. Based on my job, I have to be connected and make sure that the business is running, right? And I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to that leading from afar when you have time off in a leadership role like mine. Additionally, LinkedIn does not have notifications. Now, I will take my time whenever throughout the day to go into LinkedIn or go into Facebook, go into those social medias and check my notifications and interact with people in that virtual world. But I am very conscious of my physical world. And that's where I try to interact. My kids, my husband, my family, my friends, and my workplace are all part of my physical life. And I make sure that I prioritize that aspect. Social media and all of that is important, and I see the value in connect as an immigrant. That social media is the way that I can connect with family and friends from my entire life that I don't have the chance to see on a daily basis or as constant as I used to when I was in Venezuela, right? Social media is still an important part of my life, but I prioritize my physical life. I know I also said I keep my notifications on my email, but I can tell you that I took a very detailed approach on creating email rules in my inbox. That way, on the weekends or during my time off, I can quickly glance and go to the buckets where the most important emails are to make sure that I am connected with the business and that things continue to run. And if anything is needed from me, even though I'm afar, I can still support and quickly get in touch with that. So if you don't have email rules in your email, that's probably the first deterrent for people to not check their email. If they need to when they're not in the office or they are time off and leadership roles or you need to check your email, make sure that you're setting up those rules. Will help you kind of stay connected and not have to invest a lot of your personal time or your time off into checking your email. And the last one is kind of a new one for me, is the brain dump. And I do it I started it one way and then I transitioned to what is written on this slide now. My very first one is that at night I do a lot of reflection throughout the day on what was my day like, what did I do during the day, what could I have done better. That's where I kind of lay down in bed and starting to wind down and go to sleep, right? And I used to journal a lot, like throughout the day, and I would write it. I find a lot more success that right before I leave for the day, I write down my top 3 priorities for the day. What needs to be accomplished tomorrow? Non-negotiable, it has to happen. When I come in the next day, it helps my mind to connect quickly with my prior day and kind of continue in the flow that I was and be able to complete all of the important tasks that I may have to. You can do whatever works for you. Some people use a notepad. I am a very digital person. If you look around my office, you're going to find very, very few pieces of paper itself. I take notes on my iPad and all of that. So that's kind of how I manage my day to day. But whatever works for you, if it's a post-it note or if it's a digital post-it note, or maybe it is your reminders on your phone, whatever works for you. I think when we start struggling with the work-life balance part of it, we start seeing that I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought for a minute. Where we start struggling with the work-life balance itself is where we don't set the boundaries properly and we're not organizing ourselves. You're not organizing your personal life or you're not organizing your work life. And I always tell everybody, keep your work life as organized as you can, because your personal life, most of the time, is just going to, life is going to happen. You have very little control on the things that happen outside of work, right? Control what you can control and make sure that you can continue to connect your day to day to make sure that you're completing all of your tasks. We can move to the next slide. Taking real time off. And I know for leaders, this is a very controversial thing because we always feel the need to be connected to our business. And the truth is that vacations aren't just for checking email from a different zip code, right? Vacations are for you to disconnect. Vacations are for you to reconnect with yourself and connect with your family, your friends, whoever you are in connection with. Not just to type in that VPN code and get online with your work from having just a beach view right in front of your balcony. We can move to the next slide. So, how do I prepare for PTO? And how I did back in the days when I was an individual contributor. Don't leave loose ends. Partner closely with a colleague or that you completely trust. somebody that you know can hand off any pressing matters with the clear instructions that you provide them, right? Just let them know, hey, if somebody reaches out about this, this is what we're doing. If somebody reaches out about this. And then any other matters that are not pressing, make sure that either you have a plan or that your out of office email clearly details how you will handle those non-pressing matters. If you're a leader, empower your team. The true test of a leader is being able to have the business still running even when they're not present in the business. You want to lead in a way that your team will know what you would do if you were present in the office at that moment. Trust the people you hire to make the decisions they were hired to make. That's the point of a leader, is to empower and to make people continue growing. Now, here's the key. You have to remain available, right? As leaders, sometimes they're going to need something that is out of their control or something that they have never handled before. Remain available, but teach your team to respect your time as you respect theirs. When my team takes off, I make sure that if I contact anybody from my team during their time off, it is a true emergency, right? And it's something that only them can handle. I truly need their opinion on something or their decision on something, right? You can imagine that those are very counted situations. But at the same time, I'm teaching them to respect my time. If I am the kind of leader that is reaching out to them on vacation, they're going to learn that behavior and they're just going to repeat it because they're going to think that that's just the expectation, right? That you work throughout your vacation. And that's not the case for me. I try to empower my team to understand these are the decisions that you can make. And before I leave, I always tell them, I'm like, listen, if there's an emergency, give me a call. I don't mind. And if the phone is not the way, like for example, sometimes we go camping where I cannot even find any service, I make sure that I have a backup plan for them should they need to reach me and they are unable to, right? At the end of the day, it's covering every corner and making sure that the business continues to operate. So if you see it from that perspective, if you're seeing that the business will not run without your presence, then there's something that you can improve in the way that you lead your team and in the way that you are empowering your team. So see it from that perspective. How can you keep the business running without me? We can move to the next slide. I wanted to dive in, and I added this slide just to dive in a little bit more into what I call those minimal check-ins, right? To truly enjoy your time off, that's the key. You have to be able to disconnect, but also know that the business is still running. That gives you your peace of mind to enjoy your time off. The only way that you can achieve that is if you prepare for your time off, as we discussed before. But if ultimately you need to check in, dedicate a time to it. I've known some people that they like the morning check. My old boss, he was one of those that you wake up 7, 8, 9 a.m. and you have emails from him at 6 a.m. on vacation. Me, when I wake up at 4 a.m. every day to go to the gym, I can promise you that when I'm on vacation or off or for the weekend, I'm not waking up at 4, 6 a.m. I'm waking up at 7:30, which is the time my daughter wakes up. I wish she was sleeping more, but she's still very little, so she wakes up at 7:30. For me, that's kind of sleeping in, but I do breakfast with them. We do something fun. And then for me, what works is checking in at the end of the day. That way, if there's any emergencies, they are going to call me through the day. If they didn't call me through the day, there were no emergencies, and I can check my email, go to the specific buckets that I know could have some important information for me while I'm up, and I take actions if I need to take action. But one thing I'm not going to do, I'm not just going to respond just for them to see that I'm online. You know, a lot of leaders like to just send an email just so they know that I'm online and that I'm checking things. No, I'm enjoying my time off, and if you require my response on something, you're going to get it. And my team knows that. My team never feels that I'm abandoning them when I go on vacation or that I'm not reachable, but they know that I am enjoying my family and I'm enjoying my time off. And I set very clear boundaries, but I also take care of the business. I take care of them. And when I was preparing this presentation and I showed it to them, they said that it made sense that they see this on me. And that they agree 100%. They don't ever feel abandoned. And I think that's, as leaders, that's kind of how we struggle sometimes. We don't want our team to think that we're just completely disconnected, where we don't care what's happening in business, but we also want to enjoy our time off, right? So if it merits a response, then respond. If it doesn't merit a response, then let your team handle it. Let your team make the decisions. They made the decisions that you hire them for. So this is going to help you disconnect and truly achieve that work-life balance. And this applies too for individual contributors. If you don't have direct reports, trust the partner that you chose to handle the pressing matters that you chose them to handle. There is no need for you to get involved or provide guidance just because you're not physically in the office. You're enjoying your time off, and it should be respected. For me, what drives me is that I know my kids are not going to be this little for that long, you know? And yes, when we go camping, we lay in the hammock. My phone is inside the camper, and I'm laying in there with them. I'm connecting with my kids. I'm connecting with my husband. We're cooking. But then I'll check in my phone, and if there's something emergency or something happen, I'll get involved. Just I try to see the work-life balance from the perspective of empowering and encouraging your team to handle those matters that they need to handle. You can move on to the next slide. So, and this is kind of the last little bit of details that I wanted to cover about work-life balance. And it's really the mindset shift. And if you can move on to the next slide, really a mindset shift is changing the way you think. It's changing the way we have been ingrained to think. You know, that old school taught us that you never take full time off, that you don't take more than a week time off, or that if you're out of the office, you're checking your email, or that you should show up 3 hours before your scheduled shift and leave at your schedule. Those are all the things that, you know, that old school taught us, right? And we need to really, truly change our mindset and really understand, where are we overthinking things? Where are we making things harder for us? And the first one that I have in here is perfection is the enemy of done. Recognize your tasks. Recognize the value, the priority that they have. Is it a task? Is it a project? Is it an email? Is it good enough? For this specific task, is that good enough? If you're presenting something to your executives, or you're presenting a final version of a project, or you're presenting, like I am presenting to you guys, I make sure that what I am presenting is good, is great, is perfect. But if I am responding a quick email to my boss or to my direct report, I don't have to read it 4, 5, 6, 7 times, right? Is it conveying the message that I wanted to convey? Perfect. Let me move on to the next task. Sometimes we over-engineer, overthink simple tasks. Drains your energy that you could be using for a high-impact work. So make sure that you guys are really, truly thinking, what are you adding more energy or spending more energy on things that truly are not needed? It's not that they're not worth it. They are. But it's not truly needed to accomplish the same outcome that you would accomplish would you make it perfect or not. The second one is checking in before the party. May seem overbearing, may seem completely overdone, but I check in with my team members before I leave. For those that are still here when I leave, I check in with them. Say, hey, I'm about to head out. Do you need anything from me? First of all, it allows me to truly reach my work-life balance. Because if there's something that needs to get done, if they need something from me, I can do it right here while I am in the office. And I don't check in with them right at the time I leave. I check in with them like 30 minutes before I leave. That way I have some buffer time if there's actually something that they need me to do for them. And if they do, then I can accomplish it while at work. That way, when I am on my way home and when I get home, I can dedicate that important time to my family, my kids, to play with them, with my daughter, to practice hairdos. She finally has long enough hair where I can start practicing those little hairdos and get a little better every day with YouTube University. But at the same time, my team knows that I am getting ready to depart and do that transition, right? That commuter buffer that we talked about earlier. I'm starting to transition to the life part of my work-life balance. While you still have the work hobby, what do you need from me? That way, when I depart, If they're calling me, I know there's an emergency and I'm going to pick up the phone, regardless of if I'm feeding my kids or if I'm whatever doing anything, right? I'm going to answer, of course, as long as it's possible, right? But if they don't call me, they got it. They know what they're doing. They're handling their business. They're making the decisions that I hired them to do. So, but it allows them to really start getting ingrained into these respect the time, right? We gotta respect each other's life part of the work-life balance. And the last one, always understand that career growth is a marathon, not a sprint. For some people, rapid growth happens and it's exciting, and it can be because of timing was of the essence. Timing was their friend, like it happened to me. Great opportunities became available right at the time when I felt that I was ready for them. But for other people, timing is not right there. I have had plenty of situations where timing was not my friend, right? But understand that to continue growing in your career and operating at 110% capacity every single day, it can be hard. It can be energy draining. So make sure that you understand that continue growing is something that takes steps. That don't, as some of us, when we get promoted, we start thinking, okay, what is my next career move? Take a second. Really take a minute to become an expert at the job that you currently hold. Once you become an expert and you start seeing people coming to you for advice, for questions, for clarification, now you start seeing yourself, okay, probably I'm really starting to excel at this job. And it's probably for me time to start focusing on more challenging things to me. So what is my next step in my career? And how can I prepare for that, right? Do I need a certificate? Do I need a degree? Or do I need to get more experience in something? If I need to get more experience in something, I'm going to talk to my leader. Say, hey, I'm really interested in this job, but I need to get additional experience on this. And now it's where it comes that critical part of how you're going to balance your workload. And empowering and delegating is a critical part. But I'm not going to cover those things because those are shared every single time we talk about work-life balance. I really wanted to come to you guys on how I took this from the Mind Chef perspective, on how it changed the way I think, and how I'm changing the way my team thinks, and how they respect our personal time and our time off. I think it's quite important to change that up here so you can reflect it on your physical or your personal life. But that's all I wanted to cover with you guys from my perspective. From the work-life balance, I promised Cynthia that I was going to hold 30 minutes presentation, share my best practices, but then we could take the other 30 minutes or however time you guys need to discuss what questions do you guys have, what does work for you for the work-life balance. I think this is a great platform where we can share those things and learn from each other.
This has been really wonderful. I mean, the information that you shared is very transferable between personal. I mean, that's the point, having your work and your personal life balance each other out. There be harmony, between the two. And so this was really good. We do have a question in the chat, and the question is, any suggestions when you work full time and you are also working to get a business off the ground in your life? Um, any suggestions on, I guess, how you can manage those two areas because they are very demanding?
They are very demanding, and I will tell you this, and this applies to the business you are trying to start, as well as the business where you hold a position and you're employed at, right? Work-life balance does not mean giving more importance to personal life or work life, right? One truly does not operate without the other, right? You can't give your 110% at work if you don't have the time to reconnect with yourself, disconnect, debrief, relax, right? But also your personal life will not operate. You can't go on vacation or, buy your groceries, pay for your house, anything without your work life, right? So it's truly understanding how they both work in tandem. In your case, you kind of have three hands, right? You have two businesses one that you're trying to get off the ground, and your personal life. I think in your case, it's truly um, segmenting it and probably work more on a schedule basis for you. Maybe look from the day-to-day perspective and what's your work shift, right? And then for your business side, your personal business that you're trying to get off the ground, how much does that require from you? Maybe build some kind of somewhat of a timeline or what we call in the business side in the in the roadmap. Create a roadmap for your personal business. What goals do you want to accomplish? Whether, let's say that you're selling something or you're providing a service, right? What is required from you to get to that first customer, right? How can you achieve that first customer? If you need to accomplish tasks before those, knock those down and make sure that you have that target date that you're looking at. If you're already launched and you're already interacting with customers and you're already trying to just continue to grow your business, make sure that your customers understand what they can expect from you, right? If they need to contact you for something, what are the hours they can contact you? That way you're building a brand for yourself and your employer on that 8 to 5 job. But don't forget that your personal business, what you're trying to get off the ground, that also will have a brand. And what that will be perceived at is very important for the success of your business, right? And then once you make the determination, you don't have much control over what your employer or employee life schedule means, right? You have a little bit more control on what your personal business is and your personal life, right? So that's probably what you will have to segment more. And maybe it's getting to an agreement with your family or your friends and say, hey, these are going to be my sacred times. So from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., I'm just putting a time, will be the time that I'm dedicating to my business on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And teach people to respect. I think at the end of time, a lot of the times when we struggle with work-life balance is because others don't respect our time. And a lot of times it's because we haven't taught them to respect our time. So if you set those clear boundaries and the expectation, everybody knows what rules to play by.
I think that's a really good answer. And then just thinking back to what you presented in your presentation, another thing is just being committed to the long haul. I'm an entrepreneur myself, and so you can be very eager to want to bring that vision to life really quickly. And if you're a solopreneur or you don't have a team, that's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. So like what you were saying, mapping out your plan and then just be committed to the long haul and having the right mindset that it's not going to happen overnight. And you have to give yourself that time to really rest. And you talked about that, protecting your peace, taking a break, stepping away. And so I think that those are some really good tips for someone working a full-time job and, building a
And
business.
trying to get Listen, for me, for example, I like I said, I do 3D printing, I do laser engraving, all of that. I do it as a hobby, not as a business, but I still treat it kind of a business. I have set times with my family where I'm like, listen, today's my crafting day, and I'm going to dedicate to that, right? Majority of the time is past my kids' bedtime because I truly value the time with my kids, and I love playing with them and all of that. So I try to set my time with my husband more of it. Like, listen, don't bother me between 7 and 9 p.m. on these days because I'm dedicated to my crafting and it's something that I look forward to and I truly enjoy, right? While I don't make a financial profit of it, I have a mental profit out of it, right? It debriefs, it allows me to disconnect, it allows me to just be proud of myself on something that I created, right? We took Sebastian and Sophia to New York City because that was Sebastian's dream for his 6th birthday. He wanted to meet the Statue of Liberty. So we took him there, and then when we got back, I dedicated my crafting time to print him like a huge Statue of Liberty, which he has in his room and he absolutely adores. But that's my customer, right? My kid is my customer. I made them happy, but he knows when to expect that to be done, right? It's not. I set those clear boundaries on my friends all the time, they're asking like, hey, how can you make me this shirt? Or can you print this for me? I'll get you the material, all of that. Sure, but this is when you can expect it. I have crazy times or have all this thing going on. And I still set the expectation. It's still a favor. It's still my hobby. But if people in my life understand how to respect my time.
All right, so we got a couple of more questions in the chat. The next question is, what are some ways you deal with burnout?
Uh, Disconnecting and reconnecting. I'm not gonna sitting here and tell you that I've never felt burnt out. I have, and it's take it seriously. Don't underestimate it. A lot of us, when we feel burnt out, we just think that we just gotta push through and this is gonna pass. It won't. It won't pass. And the more you leave it unattended, the worse it's going to get. The one thing that I can tell you, and it's probably the most difficult one, is to set boundaries and have a conversation with your leader. And a lot of times when we're talking about work-life balance, people say, learn to say no. Agreed. Yes, sometimes you will have to say no, and sometimes but you say no in a respectful way, and you say, hey, supervisor, manager, I have all these on my plate, and if you want me to fit that, what kind of priority should we set, right? Truly understand those priorities and everything that is on your plate. Sometimes, majority of the time, if you partner with your leader, they will help you prioritize if you're not able to do it on your own. If you are able to prioritize on your own, then do that. Partner with a coworker or with a team member if they report to you, and delegate. Make sure that you truly understand or have a full understanding of everything you need to get done. That is going to help you avoid getting to the burnout. But if you're already in the burnout phase, figure out two things. First of all, how can you unload some of what is on your plate to a coworker, or maybe your manager can help you delegate it to someone else. On the second part, take care of this internal part. Take care of this internal part. And I'm going to tell you this, something that is not talked much in the biz or in corporate America is taking care of this. Make sure that you have the passion and the love for what you do every single day. If you don't feel that, you have to take care of this one first. Once you get your mental health in a way that you understand what your boundaries are, or that you took a minute to disconnect, that you took a minute to reprioritize, now gain that passion back, right? You unload it, you offload it, you delegate it. Now your day-to-day seems somewhat a bit more clear. Don't forget the passion part. Don't forget what drives you to work every single day. Reconnect with that part of yourself and get through that. When you get to the burnout phase, a lot of us think that there's not much to do. There's truly a lot that you can do on your own. There's a lot of practices that you can look into. For me, what works the most is disconnecting, is taking a time to, and also being premeditated about it. Don't wait until the day where you feel the burnout at the worst to say, I'm not going to be here tomorrow, right? Because now you're going to make your life worse, because you're going to go disconnect, and then you're going to come back to a complete mess and get you back into the same burnout that you were. Recognize that as early on, where you can take actions. You can prepare time off, maybe a week from today, or maybe 2 weeks from today. And you start setting up your plan to how you're going to accomplish everything you need to accomplish to be able to enjoy the time off that you're going to need, right? And if you can't take time off, let's say that, I am extremely busy and I can't foresee any kind of time off in the next 4 weeks. Has happened to me before. Well, then use your weekend. Whatever, if your weekend is on Wednesday, Thursday, or if it's Saturday, Sunday, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, use whatever your weekend is for that, to reconnect with yourself, to reprioritize. And sometimes I'm gonna tell you this because it applies to both. Sometimes it's taking a bit of your personal life to finish taking care of your work life. But guess what? Sometimes it also takes your work life to take care of your personal life a little bit. And it's okay. You know what? I come into the office every day at 6 a.m. But there are days that I'm going to be here at 8 a.m. because I had to go do my car service, or I had to take care of something in the morning. Or you know what? My husband couldn't be it was his day in office. He goes into the office once a week. So if he has to go into the office and I My mom can't help me put my kids in the bus. I stay home. I give them breakfast. I make the most of it. And really, what I try to do when I'm set with challenges is making the most of it. You know what? Yeah, shoot, I'm not going to be able to take my 2 hours at work today, so probably my work day is going to be quite crazy. But I am going to make the best of these 2 hours that I'm going to get with my kids in the morning. I'm going to make them breakfast, I'm going to make them laugh, and I'm going to send them to school extremely happy. That reconnects me with myself. That makes me happy. And I know that I'm going to have a crazy day at work, but you know what? It was completely worth it. That's just to tell you, listen, it's, yes, sometimes it's going to take using a little bit of that personal life because your work life is completely in shambles, and it will happen. Understand that they help each other and they complement each other, and that sometimes they're going to get muddled. But as much as you can keep them separated and one helping keep the other up, will always be the best resource. I hope that I answered that question as much as I could. It's a very unique question for an individual, but I just wanted to give some of the biggest tips.
I think you answered it great. You answered it well. Very good. Our next question is, how would you handle a leader who doesn't understand the work-life balance philosophy and rails against younger generations' commitment to maintaining that balance?
Mm, happens to all of us. Let me tell you that it happens to all of us, and I've heard of that. Have boundaries, set boundaries, and set expectations. And honestly, it comes back to having a conversation. There's always routes that you can take, right? And it depends, right? To what level of aggression these happen. Are they expect if you're a leader and they're expecting you just to check in with your team and make sure that your team is supported? That's one thing. Are they expecting you to actually do work and be working every day, every single day? That shouldn't be the case, right? I would encourage you to have a conversation with your leader. Sit down and say, hey, I have some challenges that I would like your assistance with, right? And have that open conversation and explain to them, you know, if your leader does not understand work-life balance for you, it's because they don't know enough about your personal life. And a lot of times, I'm going to say, a lot of times it's because they probably don't care enough. They don't care enough to ask to get to know you. So make it a point, take it up on yourself to truly teach your leader about what matters to you. And sit down with them and say, listen, I feel like the expectations these days are truly impacting things that are valued to me as much as my work life. Whatever that is, it's time with your kids, it's time with your significant others, it's time with your friends, and just explain it to your leader and say, the expectations are leading me to leave these things behind, and I feel like I'm not getting that disconnection time that will help me even be more productive. And a lot of times where you'll see more success is talking to the old school, like old school talks, right? Let's bring it from the perspective of I'm not giving my 110% at work because I ain't got it, because you're not giving me the time to disconnect. I feel like if we could arrange things in a way that I can get the time to disconnect and reconnect with work, I can perform better for you. And that way, get them, it's what we call the weapons, is what is in there for me. Show you about what is in there for them to respect your work-life balance. At the end of the day, they're going to get better performance from you. They're going to get better dedication. They're going to get better quality because you're getting that time to disconnect. If they don't understand ultimately, then there's chains that you can follow, right? I'm not, every organization is different, so I'm not sure what your chain looks like, but I encourage you to start with your manager. I encourage you to force them to get to know you on a personal level.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Javier. You have provided a lot of great information. I hope that everyone has found Javier's share today helpful and easily applicable. I mean, where you can apply it to your life and your experiences that you're having at work. And I think that it takes maturity, to have these conversations with your manager on both ends. The manager have to be willing to listen, and you when you were answering the second question, I was thinking about, how it could be kind of frightening to have certain conversations with your
Yes.
leader because you don't want to appear incompetent. Um,
Right.
what would you say about those feelings, like how to navigate not feeling that way, not feeling incompetent or as though you can't do your job?
Yeah, from the work-life perspective, I think it's just truly building a connection, right? And some people will be harder to build a connection. There's people that build this wall right in front of them that you just can't get through, right? And always respect that. Respect what the boundaries for people are, but understand, help them see that the boundaries are not the same for everyone. Some people, or majority of the people that have this wall building in front of them, they think everybody has that same wall. And it's okay for us to say, listen, that's not the kind of person I am. And because I want you to know how I am or how you can expect me to perform, I want you to get to know me on a personal level. I want you to know what motivates me. As my leader, you should know that because that's what you can use to continue getting better performance from me, right? So try to build that connection. And sometimes it's not something that you're going to accomplish in one meeting or in one sit down or in one on one. It's something that you build. And it kind of goes back to that career growth, right? It's a marathon, not a sprint. You don't have to get there right now. And try to build that connection. Try to build that personal relationship with your manager. I can tell you that from a management perspective, from a leader perspective, I will never see somebody that approaches me with concerns about work-life balance, about thinking of them as somewhat incompetent. That will, if a leader thinks that way, I think it's somewhat unfortunate, but not to say that they don't exist. Of course they exist, right? But truly, stay true to your values. Stay true to what drives you. At the end of the day, you will never perform as good as you want to perform by doing it the way your boss is telling you to do, or by giving up the things your boss is telling you to give up, right? You are an individual person. You are who you are. And how do you present that to your manager, to your leader? How do they get to know that true person that is behind every single document that comes out, or every single task completed, or every single call taken, right? It's it's making them to get to know you, that person that is an individual contributor, the team member to their team that helps them accomplish the goals that they have on a higher level. So I don't think a manager should ever think that the work-life balance is related in any way to competency or incompetency. But I think it goes back to those people that have that wall between them or in front of them. Try to do an extra effort to build somewhat of a personal connection, and really, truly comes to finding a common ground. I do that a lot of times when people that are hard to get through, like, okay, let me find some common ground where we can connect. The moment that you find that common ground, that wall starts coming down. Maybe not down, but starts opening up, right? They'll close it for other people, but they'll probably will keep it open for you because you truly got to know the true person behind that wall, and because that wall opened, they got to know you. And I can tell you that I have relationship with people that other people would never expect. I have seen people say that I've never seen that person smile. How do you make them smile? And it's because I take a time to connect with them and to connect with them in a personal level. In this case, it's lucky because okay, the leader is a extroverted. I'm the one that doesn't have the wall. It's a little harder when the tables are turned, right? When it's the leader who has that wall. So then, from the direct report perspective, is how you build that connection. Find those common grounds that will help you kind of get that direct line of communication, and now they can truly see the true you and the value that you bring to your table, and that competency kind of concern kind of goes away.
Very
Did
good.
I?
You answered the question perfectly. Thank you so much. This
You're
has been a
welcome.
really good session. I think that everyone has benefited from the session and have some really good takeaways. And I just want to thank you, Javier, for taking the time to speak with us and present a very personable topic in ways that we, like I said, we can apply right away. And I'm excited about next month's event, which is going to be another virtual event for professional development, which is building resilience in uncertain times. And we are all in uncertain times right now with a lot of changes socially, professionally, a lot of things going on. So I'm excited to bring a personal friend, Erica Bishop, to talk with us on how to manage our emotions. And she's going to give us some practical strategies on how to stay grounded under pressure and lead our personal, professional lives with confidence. And so, if you are interested in joining that event, you can certainly sign up. Here is if you're not a part of NAMIC St. Louis, there are various chapters, but the St. Louis chapter you can join by scanning this QR code. And even if you're not a member, you can still participate and take advantage of our virtual series that we're offering every month for the remainder of the year. We have some really great speakers that are going to be coming to talk to us about AI, then the CEO of your own home. If you have a multi-generational home, they're going to support you with that. And so a lot of good things in the work. And so join today, become a member, and get involved. And so I think that we are good to close. Thank you again, Javier.
Thank
You
you.
have provided such value to us today. Yes. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Feel free to reach out to Javi. I mean, you don't want to overwhelm him, but just to tell him
Whenever you guys want.
how great of a job he's done since he is a part of Charter. You can send him a spark. Just tell him thank you for the knowledge, the nuggets of knowledge he dropped today. So, thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye bye.
Bye.